Football seems like a simple game. You score more points than the opposition, and you win. But it's so much more complicated than that. It is a sport full of intricacies, and it's those that make a sport that so many people love. One of these is the positions. There's a lot of them, and in and among all of the jargon, it can be hard to know what player does what. So let's take a look at each position in football, what their responsibilities are, and how they create the most popular sport in America. Football positions are split into three groups: offense, defense, and special teams. We'll start with the offense, and a position you've almost certainly heard of, the quarterback. Quarterbacks are usually considered the leader of the offense. They receive the ball from the center and can either hand off the ball to a running back, throw it to a wide receiver, or run it themselves. The running back is situated in the backfield with the quarterback, and their primary goal is to run with the football and gain yards on the ground. Some teams also utilize a position called the fullback, another player who aligns in the backfield and is primarily used as an additional blocker for the running back. Wide receivers, as their name suggests, receive forward passes from the quarterback to gain yards through the air. They can either be positioned out wide or aligned closer to the central formation as an inside or slot receiver. On a pass play, the receivers run a set of coordinated routes designed to create separation from their defenders. At the front of the offensive formation is the offensive line. This is made up of a center, 2 offensive guards, and 2 offensive tackles. Their main job is to protect the quarterback and create spaces for the running back to run through, which are known as running lanes. But each position has specific responsibilities. The center will snap the ball back to the quarterback to start a play, and the rest of the offensive line is then collectively tasked with protecting the quarterback from the defenders rushing the passer or creating lanes for the running back. Now, we've mentioned the defense there, but before we get to them, we have to mention the 11th and final member of the offense, the tight end. This is a hybrid position that involves the skills of a receiver or an offensive lineman, or both. They can block opposition defensive players and also run to receive passes. They'll either line up on the line of scrimmage with the offensive line or in the slot. Okay, now on to the defense. We'll start describing this group with the defensive line. This is a group at the front of the defensive formation comprised of defensive tackles and defensive ends. They'll look to tackle either the quarterback behind the line of scrimmage in what is known as a sack, or the running back in what is known as a tackle for loss. The defensive tackles are situated in the interior of the defensive line. They'll look to run through the offensive line to put pressure on the quarterback or stop the run. Defensive ends, or edge players in some defenses, meanwhile are positioned on the outside of the defensive line and will look to go around the offensive line to rush the quarterback and prevent running plays. Behind the defensive line are usually 3 linebackers, although it varies by formation. Linebackers are required to be versatile and will be asked to tackle running backs, cover tight ends, and occasionally support the defensive line in rushing the quarterback on plays called blitzes. Situated furthest outside the formation are the cornerbacks, whose job is to defend against the wide receivers in order to stop them from receiving passes. Finally, rounding out the defense are the safeties, who will primarily cover the deeper part of the field, but can also serve as the last line of defense against the run and support the work of the defensive line. There is a strong safety who lines up closer to the line of scrimmage and stops runs or short to medium passes, and a free safety who lines up further back and specializes in preventing long passes by defending the deepest part of the field. So now you've mastered offense and defense. The last positions you need to know about are the special teams. There's a kicker who will come on to kick extra points after a touchdown or field goals after a successful offensive drive. In order to snap the ball back to them, there is a specialized long snapper whose job is to throw the ball back before a kick. The long snapper will throw the ball back to a holder whose job it is to hold the ball in place for the kicker. Seeing as this is not a particularly specialized position, the role is usually filled by a punter or backup quarterback. And speaking of punters, this is another special team player who will look to kick the ball as far as possible down the field after an unsuccessful offensive drive. The aim of this is to push the other offensive team back into their territory and make it difficult for them to score. And finally, the punter's kick will be caught by a return specialist, whose job is to catch the ball and run it as far back down the field as possible to ensure territory loss is minimized. Like with the holder, it's unusual to have a dedicated return specialist, and most teams will use a reserve wide receiver, running back, or cornerback to fill the role.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to the best team of sports writers, reporters, and analysts in the world, offering exclusive stories and unrivaled insight.